Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over teams for the new Mythic of Undine. It can be found this week in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chests, and you'll be able to find it exclusively until this next Friday, so basically until the end of next Thursday, and then it'll be in a drop table with everything else. So basically every key except gold keys and event keys are the only two keys where he is not located. As far as the troop itself, it is basically a submerge oriented troop made for blue countering. So let's go just right into it and mess with a couple teams. One thing to note is basically every team you ever use it with will use an Azura. This is mainly because it is both a merfolk and a great mana generator, and it's blue. Of course, these are relevant because of what it actually does. It deals damage to an enemy and then the next enemy below. And on top of that, it will also have a boost ratio based on merfolks and submerged on your teams, meaning you get additional 48 damage for a total of 96 additional damage from having a full team of blue and merfolk. Though more often than not, you're probably not going to be building something like that, because there is one and we'll be showing it, but it's still a little clunky in its current form. Could definitely use some better troops as placements. Other than that, it submerges all blue allies and then silences all blue enemies, which is quite relevant because this makes it as a possible blue counter. Is it a really solid blue counter? Not really. Is it going to be used a lot? Not really. It's basically a utility troop mainly for submerging and for blue counter, and that is about as far as it goes. It is not something you would throw against absolutely everything because you will get crushed if you do so. As far as traits, as immune to mana drain, which is really relevant because it's quite helpful, and it submerges itself constantly. Of course, submerge, basically what that does is any attack that hits all enemies, any kind of full AoE, it will end up protecting that specific troop from all of that damage. So it can be useful against some teams like Dawnbringer, full dragon teams, stuff like that. But more often than not, it's not really going to do anything. It does nothing against stat reductions, does nothing against things that hit a target and then do adjacents. Some examples of that are things like Ketris the Bull and Infernus and Drake Rider and all those kind of things, where they hit a specific troop, and while they're still hitting sometimes the entire team, because they're doing it in a kind of like dissipated matter where it doesn't do it all at once, it doesn't actually trigger submerge, so he still gets it triggered. I mean, it still doesn't really work out. But anyways, as far as submerge, do keep in mind it also you remove submerge whenever you cast or take skulls with that specific troop. It doesn't undo it when it takes damage, but whenever it takes skulls or does damage, or the cast ability itself, it will lose it, so do keep that in mind. But let's get into it. First off, we're going to be running with Azura, Emperor Corvash, Undine, Skady. Reason we're running Azura in first slot, a couple of reasons. One, it's just really good mana generation, and the other reason is, since we're running a Skady in this instance, we will be able to summon a Queen Mab in its place, which covers the exact same colors, so we're not even going to have any issue with that. And even after the Azura dies, we are still covering every single color. So basically what we're going to want to do here is get Azura up as quickly as possible. Also, from what I've seen so far, this, or at least from what I've tested so far, this is the best possible team that you could really create out of him. There's probably a few other niche ones, and of course, as more Merlantis comes into the game, some kind of 4 times Merlantis will probably be better than this. But as it currently stands, yeah, there's not a great deal to use this guy for, that's for sure. Also, the current things that are really heavily used these days, it's also not particularly good with. So right here, I want Undine to be the highest amount of mana. The main reason for this is the AI tends to like to drain whatever has the highest mana, and as you can see right there, it just goes and wait, what created Blue Storm? Oh yeah, Skady, duh. I was gonna say, wait, what? Blue Storm. But yeah, as you can see there, because we had the highest amount of mana on that and he is immune to mana drain, we didn't really have to worry about the next there. And also, we should be able to get some pretty good silences. 3 of his things use blue, so yeah, we'll be able to get right into that. Skull, somewhat tempting, though it's not really going to progress our team forward at all. Problem is, like, almost everything on this board isn't really going to help us much, but we'll go for that. I got very lucky on the double surge, so that's good for us. We'll probably go for a blue surge here. Never mind, it's 1 mana short. Should have probably double checked to see if that actually would have been enough. Not that big a deal though. We have our Corvash ready. Probably going to throw that in a second. I keep thinking that this troop has immune to mana drain, but as of this patch it actually doesn't, because that would be too powerful if it did. But we'll go and get that down. That dispels, so we can actually get rid of barrier and stuff if he actually had it. Of course, at this current moment he does not. And now we can go for this big ability. Of course, it's boost based on every submerge and every merfolk. Though if you don't have that many submerges or merfolks, it's not really going to do much. In this case, it's not really going to do much. Even though we have a full blue team, which is going to be able to submerge, we currently don't have that many boost ratios. We have 3 additional ones, meaning it should be gaining 18 additional damage, meaning it should be doing 42 damage to 2 targets is what this should come down to. So before I go and actually go for that, I'm going to go get some Azura up and then get this down. Nothing, doesn't look like we have any cascades anywhere. It's going to start taking out the front of his line. As you can see, that silences every blue on his team and hits the front 2 for the 48, I believe I mentioned. And we'll just go for this. As you can see, we lose submerge on that because we cast it. And if we were to do the same thing on Corvash right now to make sure he doesn't get a Dawnbringer, which is exactly what we're going to be doing, then that will also actually... Oh, no, never mind. I was going to say, with Undine, we could actually go and silence it, but unfortunately, no, we do have to go for a Corvash here. So we'll go do that. That does unsubmerge it, of course, and yeah, leaves us a little bit vulnerable in that regard. We are frozen on blue, so I can't actually go and take that blue, so we're just going to have to go and explode it. And again, as I mentioned, we didn't get that blue extra turn because we are frozen on blue. Unfortunately, we weren't able to stun it before that actually happened. So we're going to go for another submerge thingy here then, I guess. Then probably go for Skady, just because even though it's silenced right now, I believe it had 16 mana, if I'm not mistaken. Feels so weird doing a video instead of a stream, because I can never look back to double check things. But yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he was at 16 mana. And it's really weird that you can't see this in any way, shape, or form. There's no mechanic currently when a troop is silenced to see how much mana they have, even if you have mana enabled. So that's kind of weird. I think we can still actually see that number behind it, but obviously we can't read what on earth that number is. It's like something out of 20 with like a 1, but it should be 16 out of 20. And that means we still get the damage off of Skady. Whenever you do mana burn on an enemy, even if they're silenced, even though it doesn't show they have any mana, they still have whatever mana they had. So we could still boost ratio off of whatever mana they had if we had a Famine or a Skady or a Queen Mab. So we're still going to get the extra damage on him. As you can see, that almost kills him because of the 16 additional damage. Obviously, that did way more than just her standard 34. And then we just go and clean it up with Corvash or anything else. And that is that. So personally, that's been my favorite team with it. If I'm going to be doing anything with it, that will probably be the team I'll be using for the most part. Might even try it on a blue day, though, of course, Blue Guild War already happened this week. So I can't really go and try that again anytime soon. So here's a kind of team that is... something we should not throw this against. The main reason being is Infernus and Ketris, as I just mentioned earlier, and it's funny that he's using both of them, don't do... Submerge does nothing against them. The reason for this is they specifically actually only hit one target, but then they do adjacents to that target. So even in a case like Infernus, where it's most likely hitting everything on the opposing team, it does it in a separated manner to the point that Submerge will never block any of its damage, which is very annoying. But yeah, it doesn't block its burn, it doesn't block its burn AoE, it doesn't block its damage thingy, it doesn't block Ketris damage thingy, it does absolutely nothing against this team. So as much as I don't want to, we're going to have to go skip by this one. I do want to keep that there though, so I guess we'll go and do it on a stronger casual team then. We'll just repick a couple times and see if we can find something to go use here. Here's a somewhat blue team, so we'll actually be able to function some. As I mentioned, this team, if you're going to be using it for anything, you're likely going to be using it as a blue counter, or possibly on Blue Guild War days. Of course, Blue Guild War already happened yesterday, and as I mentioned, like 3 weeks before we see it again, so it's going to be a while before you really get to utilize them, that's for sure. Anyways, this is a pretty standard Corvash Queen Mab team, so let's go and take that out then. So we're going to be running with this. I'm going to go and, same strategy as always, go and try to get the Azura up as quickly as possible, and pretty much just go from here. This entire team is merfolk and is also blue, meaning we do get the full boost ratio, which means if our entire team is submerged, and of course merfolk, which already is, we will end up getting the full boost ratio of 48, meaning a total of 96 additional damage, which is not that bad. Could be better. It's really hard to set up and everything. Definitely could use some replacements too, as far as like replacing out this guy. Currently, he can kind of be used as a cheaper version of Skady, since once you get a kill, he does create a blue storm. Though unfortunately, unlike Skady, it does not start from the beginning of the battle, so you don't have that benefit, unfortunately. Well, we'll go grab that. Let's see, I should probably get this down already. He has a bunch of blue that's about to trigger. We're not frozen on purple, so I am actually going to go for that, just to move it off the board. And now I guess we will go and finally go poke this with it then. So we'll just work from the front line. I do want to kill out Corvash. It is one of the more annoying things. Valkyrie, all it does is help us. Pure help right there. So we'll go explode the entire board, get a lot of explosions thanks to Valkyrie. Actually, this is really good against that team, though this team's very rarely used these days. It's came and went at this point. Not really that common. Let's see. We could use this to help keep our first thought alive. It actually does give a bit of HP and everything. Also gives it submerge, though unfortunately it doesn't give our other troop mana, so that's not going to help us much. even if we did get that little submerge. No! Okay, maybe it would have helped us. It would have kept it alive. So I'm going to kill that with Leviathan. I guess we go to the next slot then. Re-silence them, so we don't need to worry about that. So we'll get a Leviathan in there, and I'll easily go and kill, reshuffle them some, and should be good from there. So we did lose a troop. So if this was actually Guild Wars, that would definitely not be good, because we don't actually have a summoner. Though, of course, if this was Guild Wars, we could easily go and keep keeping it protected with that ability if we truly had to. Though, of course, in normal PvP, that would just waste time, so no need to do that. But we'll go throw this down again, and we'll silence it again, submerge our entire team, basically making it absolutely pointless, or, you know, the team incapable of doing anything. Because in the case of Queen Mab, it would protect us against her ability. It used to not work on it, on Mana Burn, but now it does. Only specifically on Queen Mab, because she hits everything, so it works for that. But for something like a Corvash, it wouldn't, because it's only hitting 2 troops. So I believe it does work on Corvash, if and only if you only have 2 troops left, if I'm not mistaken. Though if you have any more than that, it won't. Well, let's take that skull, and that's actually a match. There we go. So, pretty much, that is not Merlantis, that is, well, I guess Merlantis as well. That's Merlantis, that's merfolks, but that is the new Undine mythic. Is it anything too spectacular? Nope, not really. It's mainly just a nice blue counter and a utility troop here and there. At the current state of the game, not really that useful, though there could be purposes within the future, particularly as more merfolk and stuff get added to the game. Not something I would go too far out of the way for, definitely something I would at least attempt to a small degree if you have some random keys laying around that you might want to throw at it. But yeah, it's nothing too special, so do keep that in mind. Mainly blue counter, mainly submerge, and that's about as far as it goes, and maybe sometime in the future, a merfolk kind of team. Or maybe if it comes in like invasion or something, obviously it'd be pretty good on a merfolk invasion or something like that. But anyways guys, if you still have any questions about the new troop or anything else in Gems of War related, let me know, and I'll definitely make sure to get around to it. Anyways, we'll be streaming today and tomorrow, kind of messing around with him a little bit, just to kind of see if we can get anything slightly better than what we just created, though I'm pretty sure that very first team's about as good as we're going to get. Anyways guys, I hope you all enjoy your weekend, and I will see you all later. Goodbye everyone!